McLauchlan, and welcome to this very special edition of Swingin' on the Star. Today's show is real special because my special guest is Joni Mitchell. The other special thing is it's awful quiet in here. It's because we got no studio audience. I guess, it must be the flu season. Except for Joni's folks. They're out there. Do you want to clap? There, all three of them, they're out there. And Larry Klein is here. But he's not a studio audience. I would have got around to that. I really would have. I mean, there's no sense getting picky about this. I just, I didn't know whether to introduce you right off the top as Mr. and Mrs. Klein because it would give away your secret cover name in hotel rooms. I'll just call you Mr. and Mrs. Bridge. Anyway, there's nobody here but us. But I'm quite content with that, and I hope you're all real content with that out there in Radio Land. We got our usual band members here, Mr. Danny Greenspoon on the guitar, and Mr. Kip Johnson on the bass. So without further ado, I'm going to do the first song because, your songs are like so signature that there's very few of them that an artist of such limited potential as myself could possibly attempt.
Oh, God,
and
he's
get away
having
with.
a humble attack.
Yeah, it's really uncharacteristic. But I love this song. I mean, I've heard a lot of people do it, and I've always kind of wanted to sing it, and I sort of sat down in the last couple of days and learned it. And I'm sure that anyone who's a folk fan will instantly recognize it as one of the great rock and roll hits of all time, and about the signature event which occurred in the 1960s when many people descended on New York State to a place called Yasgur's Farm. It's a song called Woodstock.
Walking along the road, and I asked him, "Where are you going?" And this he told me, "I'm going on down to Yasgur's Farm. I'm gonna join in a rock and roll band. I'm gonna camp out on the land and try and get my soul free. We are stardust, we are golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Then can I walk beside you? I have come here to lose the smug, and I feel to be a cog in something turning. Well, maybe it's just the time of year, or maybe it's the time of man, but I don't know who I am. But you know life is for learning. We are stardust, we are golden. We've got to get ourselves back to the garden. Woodstock. We will have 1,000,000 strong. And everywhere there was song and a celebration. And I dreamed I saw the bombers riding shotgun in the sky. They were turning into butterflies above our nation. We are stardust, billion-year-old carbon. We are golden, cotton the devil's bargain. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden.
Well, that was a pretty signature version of Woodstock, I think.
Really nice, really good.
I mean, you're the author, and you have to be. You got to be pretty critical.
Like
about
I
this.
jammed on that. It's like a red letter day.
You think, like if Dave and Steve and and Graham were here, that they'd get mad at us for for comping any of their licks.
I think a big fight would ensue over. No, man, that's the wrong harmony. You see, in our church we sang it this way. No, man, in our church we sang it this way.
Just in case anybody didn't get the information off the top of the show because of the usual rambling introduction that I do out of whatever passes for my brain, Mr. Larry Klein and Mrs. Klein are here today. Joni Mitchell, better known as professionally. And why don't we just sort of jump away from the formalities and go straight to you guys playing something together, and then we can blab later.
Start with Cherokee Louise. This is a new song. It's not out yet. I don't know what's your airing time.
When's the show?
February 21st. This thing comes out. It's out. This is a song off the new album called Cherokee Louise. Cherokee Louise is hiding in this tunnel in the Broadway bridge. We're crawling on our knees. We've got flashlights and batteries. We've got cold cuts from the fridge. Last year about this time we used to climb up in the branches just to sway there in some breeze. Now the cops on the street, they want poor Cherokee Louise. People like to talk, tongues are wagging over fences, wagging over phones. All the doors are locked. God, she can't even come to our house, but I know where she'll go. To the place where you can stand and press your hands like it was bubble bathing. And asphalt high as heat, down under the street. My friend, poor Cherokee Louise. Ever since we turned 13, it's like a minefield walking to the door. Going out you get the 3rd degree, and coming in you get the 3rd World War. Tuesday after school we put our pennies on the rails, and when the train rolled by, we were jumping down like fools, going, look, no heads or tails, going, look, my love She runs home to her foster dad. He opens up a zipper and he asks her to her knees. Oh, please be here, please. My friend, poor Cherokee Louise. They saw. Cherokee Louise is hiding in this tunnel in the Broadway Bridge. We're crawling on our knees. We've got Archie and silver screen. I know where she is. In the place where you can stand and press your hands like it was bubble bath in dust pile high as me. Down under the street, my friend, poor Cherokee Louise. Cherokee Louise. Cherokee Louise. Cherokee Louise. Cherokee Louise. Oh, Cherokee Louise. Cherokee Louise. One fine clam in there.
That was a beaut. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I think
That's, you know,
okay,
that's
that
part
one.
of the...
You want it perfect? We go for it
No,
again?
you know, I mean, some people call that soul. You know, making clams is really good. I mean, unless they're like those kind of, you know...
Especially in the chatter.
Well, actually, they're not so bad, you know, if you have an F sharp against an F or something, you know. It's not so bad.
No, it's
I mean,
okay, though.
like you do that on purpose.
Yeah, they'll just think it's a weird
Yeah,
chord,
they
right?
They think it's art. And if you really, like, put your lip out and refuse to back down, they'll believe it.
Yeah, yeah. If you play it twice, it's yours.
Yeah. It's the definition of art. It's like when you browbeat people into believing it.
So you want us to do another one, or?
No, let's gab for a while. I think gabbing is a good thing to do for a little while. I mean, you know, I want you to do another one, so don't put your guitar too far away. Anything like that. You have an incredible memory for minute events and all of their little colors and textures. I've, like, been amazed by your recollection of what people were wearing, what they were eating, who moved where, who had what in their pocket, what kind of shoelaces they were wearing, what they were sewing, what the brand names were, where they left lipstick on the glasses, blah, 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 blah. I mean, from events that you're describing that happened like 10 years ago.
That's kind of the strong suit of my memory. It's like it stores. If I've witnessed it and I've been alert, you know, if I found it interesting, usually that's the criteria for being awake or asleep. You know, it stores like film and you can recall it. However, the weak suit is proper names of anything, names of streets, names of countries, names of heads of state, movie stars, Trivial Pursuits. That kind of memory is.
You never get the sports questions.
No way, you know, that's all gone.
Yeah, with me, it's balancing a checkbook.
I should live in Tokyo because they don't name the streets over there. You know, they find it all kind of Pathfinder. It's like, that's why
You were
like,
there just recently, weren't you? Like
Couple years
reasonably
ago.
recently for having an art show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you've been doing a lot of traveling around the world with your paintings, which, I mean, a lot of people know about, but maybe some people don't, that you have gained as much of an international reputation as a visual artist. I love that phrase. It sounds so toffee-nosed.
I've had these opportunities recently to either exhibit or to have a show for sale. In Tokyo, I sold the work, which in a way I kind of regret because up until then it had no value, really, and no monetary value. A friend of mine had her house appraised, and the guy was walking along, and she collects folk art, and she had a drawing of mine on the wall, and the suffragist man stopped in front of it, and he said, "Joni Mitchell, the Joni Mitchell," and he nodded his head approvingly and wrote down value nothing, which was perfect because, you know, at that point you could give the stuff away. Now you can't. If you give it away now, you have to pay like a gift tax on it. It's
in many respects, like your songwriting career is more like, can be more likened to painting perhaps than your painting career, because your songwriting career has much more distinct periods, like where that was that, that's over, this is this, that's over. In the sense that, like, you have probably the greatest dedication to the idea of being, like, you know, jaw jutting out, iron-willed, boom, you know, serious attitude, capital A artist. I mean, to the exclusion of all else. I mean, you're about as iron-assed about it as anybody I've ever met. Would you say that's an adequate appraisal?
Yeah, come on in that, right?
That's a compliment, believe it or not.
No, I know it is.
Sort of the Murray Scottish version of a compliment.
Your compliment there. It's in Japan. This one guy said to me, Joni-san, how do you get so strong-willed? I said, well, you know, I had a lot of childhood illness. I think that's it. I think that had it not been for the undermining of physical strength by a lot of childhood illness, because, you know, I've got a kind of a strong body in a certain way. I would have been an athlete. I probably would have been. And I would not have developed such an inner life. Kind of the counter pain, you know, lying on your back in hospitals and staring at knotholes and drips in the walls. And you develop a kind of a depth, and I don't mean that as like, I'm deeper than you, man, or you just naturally, little kids that have had life and death battles develop an old soul quality, you know, and an ability to see through things that people don't generally. You see little cancer victims, and not all of them. Some of them just, you know, go to their death whimpering and whining, you know, but the ones that stand up and face it get a man, you know, like, I'm thinking, because on tape I've only seen men children. I haven't seen girls facing that problem, but the little men that I saw in the cancer wards, they were something else. If they kept their spirit up. I learned a lot about spirit with childhood illness, and that's where they get the strong-jawedness thing. You know, I'm always saying spirit this and spirit that, and keep your spirit up, and that spirit and this spirit. You know, I think of that's spiritual, has nothing to do with religious. Just
I meant more in the sense of being extremely inflexible as far as any outside influence on the direction that you choose to go in at any particular time is concerned, be it management, be it record company, be it friends going, no, shriek, don't do it, blah.
Oh, yeah, well, you face, like, you know, you're always faced with options, right? Creative options, life choice options. And so often your choices are tepid, you know, or dull. And so given a direction presented to you that interests you, I always follow that, you know. I mean, and people have a hard time talking me out of it. They can kind of make my spirit alter, you know, like my enthusiasm for that direction go down. There's a delicate point where I am swayable, and I can go down and examine another point of view. But if mine still, even in the down space, is stronger, bam, I'll follow it, definitely. Because strong, given 5 tepid options and one kind of crazy idea that is, you don't know where it's going to lead. 5 bad options, you know where they're going, and one that's kind of crazy and you're not sure. I'd take the uncertain route every time, yeah.
You've probably revealed more about yourself through your work than anybody else I've ever met, too. Is that another deal, like, from that kind of courageousness of being, like, when you were a little kid? To me, that's always been one of the definitions of what an artist is, that they make contact with other people by ripping themselves open to the extent that they strike a sympathetic chord in somebody who recognizes themselves in what it is that the artist does. And you have an incredibly fanatical group of, I hate to use the word followers, it makes you sound like Reverend Moon, but never, I don't think I've ever encountered, you know, among people the kind of rabid fascination that some of your fans have.
Well, you know, part of the reason for becoming a confessional poet was, okay, let's see if you love me now, huh? You know, I mean, because here you are in this popularity game, you know, and the tradition of the popular artist is to be bigger than life and sexier than anyone and real bushy-tailed. What would happen if you weren't? What would happen if you say, look, you know, like, I'm a bit of a, you know, I'm really kind of a mess and I'm selfish, you know, like if you begin to expose more and more of your humanness in the art of the short story, that's the meat that it's made of. All literature contains real human experience, whereas pop arena contains a lot of gloss and nonsense. You know, the question was, could you put those two things together and survive? And then I got to the place where it was all I was capable of anyway. Nothing mattered to me really but honesty. And being a loner, isolated by diseases, moving around a lot, I learned somehow or other cumulatively the strength to stand alone. I'm an only child. So the worst that could happen to me would be I was ostracized, and I had been through that many times and lived, you know, either ostracized with disease or new kid on the block or whatever, you know, leaving a gang because the direction that they were headed in was not mine, you know, and once again looking for your people. There's pros and cons to taking that direction. This one girl, I'll tell you this one story. This is one of my favorite compliments I ever received. Again, the New York attitude. We'd been up jamming all night in this club in New York, and it was now daylight out on the streets, and the idea of like heading out after an all-night session into the streets was like kind of like everybody was really wilted, and this little 18-year-old girl came up to me and she said, "Joni, I just want to thank you for shaping my morality." You know, so I said, "Well, why don't you shape mine?" And she said, No, you asshole. All you said was, you know, I like this and I don't like that, and I thought you was right.
You want to do another song?
Sure.
That'd be nice. You don't want to get all too deeply into the meaning of meaning here.
No,
I mean,
that's true.
This is a gig, you know. You gotta play.
Once in a while, in a big blue moon, there comes a night like this, like some surrealist invented this 4th of July night ride home. Hula girls and caterpillar tractors in the sand. Ukulele man, the fireworks this 4th of July night ride home. I love the man beside me. We love the open road. No phones till Friday. Far from the overkill, far from the overload. Back at the bar, the band tears down, but out here in the headlight beams, the silver power lines gleam on this 4th of July night ride home. Round the curve and a big dark horse with taillights on his hide, he's keeping right alongside, rev for stride, 4th of July night ride home. I love the man beside me. We love the open road. No phones till Friday. Far from the overkill, far from the overload. Once in a while, in a big blue moon, there comes a night like this, like some surrealist invented this 4th of July night ride home. On a night ride home. Night ride home. On a night ride home.
that's lovely.
Oh, thank
I
you.
was just like going for a drive in the car with me dad at night.
We got a cricket on the track, you know, when
Is it?
we recorded it. He flew into the studio behind the curtain, then had the door open.
Oh, it wasn't intentional. You didn't buy him in a little cage. And...
No, he flew right into the studio like a lucky thing. And so we dadded him. Stuck him in the Fairlight and gave him the downbeat.
Oh, that's great. Are you going to play something on the piano today? Like other than that wonderful job you did accompanying on Woodstock, or?
I don't remember
piano
anything
song?
on the piano.
I bet you if you sat down and played it for a while, you probably would.
I could noodle for you if you like.
Noodle?
Just noodle, you know, just a little chordal noodling.
Oh, you mean like a work in progress?
Right.
Yeah,
I
okay.
Let's see if I can remember that one.
A little inventive melody. Write lyrics while you go.
You better leave now, take what you need, you think will last. Take what you have gathered from whatever you want to... Oh yeah, this'll work. Take what you need now, you better leave now, you think will last. Whatever you want to keep, you better grab it fast. Over there's your orphan with his gun. Crying like a fire in the sun. Look out, the saints are coming through, almost. And it's all over now, baby blue. The highway is for gamblers, better use good sense. Take what you have gathered from coincidence. The empty-handed painter from your street is drawing crazy patterns on your sheets. Oh shoot! I had the words, I could sing that to those tunes, but no, I'm real rusty on it, Murray.
That's not so. I mean, I think, until you collided with that minor chord, that was the only problem. That was the only bit that kept getting troublesome.
Yeah, no, that's...
I think Bob would have been proud of you.
Yeah.
You certainly did it better than Bob did the last time I saw him.
The Bob-itis.
There's a standing joke in Canada that L.A. is the 4th largest Canadian city.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, do you still feel a sense of apartness there?
I'm not a joiner, like I think of myself as an international traveler. It's more, I'm not a fan of boundaries. I think, philosophically, where a road goes, this is not a realistic point of view, this is like just an overview, where a road goes, where a wire goes, where a country line goes, the migration of animals are messed up, and, it just causes all sorts of global grief. It's inevitable because, we're so overpopulated, and lines have to be drawn, and territories have to be held, and there's too many people just to lead a tribal existence. But I feel an affinity and a strong tie to the land that I came off of. Larry and I, last summer, we took a drive from the place I was born, Fort McLeod, Alberta, and up through Saskatchewan in the towns that I lived in, and it's always a thrill. Every time I go there, I mean, artists, speaking of artists recharging off their native land, Picasso was an expatriate, I guess, on paper. He lived in Paris, in France most of his life. But every time he went back to Spain, he came back with a new period. There is something about the animal within being on the land that it was born onto in that vicinity that you cannot, that land is always special. As far as embracing the whole country, there's provinces I haven't been to in Canada. I know, I'm more aligned with New York City than I am Halifax. I've never been to Halifax, so.
What?
But I feel like a Saskatchewanian, although oddly enough they don't stock my records in that province. So,
Wait a minute. Are you serious? Like, they don't stock your records in Saskatchewan?
Well, they don't in Saskatoon. It's always been a kind of a country and western hotbed, and for a while I resembled a country and western singer, and maybe when I took a jazz band into the Grand Ole Opry, that was it for my Saskatoon sales. I don't know.
There's a period, just like wham, bam, 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 bam. There's a whole pile of albums where a whole pile of hit records happened. There were short, simple, structurally, to the point, cohesive, catchy. And then those kind of songs abruptly stopped.
No, they didn't. People's ability to perceive them stopped. They didn't stop. Yeah. What happens? This is my take on it anyway. The psychology of a long distance runner. The public's attention span has gotten even shorter over the years. When I entered the game, it was expected that an artist that had something going for them would be developed over a period of 5 projects. Then it would be their time to die. That's pretty much as long a run as you got. And the struggle was after that. The public attention for any artist, no matter how compelling, it was at that time about 5 projects. So if you recouped on your first album, you would still be kept and nurtured, and hopefully you would sell more the next and then the next. Now, it's pretty much reel it up and tear it down. An artist gets, because it's an international market now from the beginning, whereas then it was more of a local market. It goes very high up the flagpole, and then it gets torn apart on the second one. The second one can never seem to match the expectations of the first. Some people endure a little longer than others, usually through shock value, maintaining some kind of noticeability out of all of it, not necessarily by craft or real talent so much as the ability to be compelling or provocative in some way or other. There's so much material out now.
Well, the popular mythology has it that you took an artistic direction where you started writing longer songs that were much more, for want of a better word, artistically oriented, much more descriptive, and that didn't fit conventional or popular radio formats anymore. But it seemed that possibility was a matter of choice, really, rather than a matter.
Help Me was a hit. It was never anything like it. It didn't fit anything conventional. It just so happened that it was the record company's kind of unanimous decision that they liked that one the best at that time, and at that time I was still in a period of favor. If I was a new artist and released Dog Eat Dog, a new personality, if we could kill old Joni off, and set a new puppet, like a new young face up there and put out Dog Eat Dog, I think it would have been responded to entirely differently. But take the normal attention span of an individual. It's not that long. I find it in myself. Everybody compares. If you like the last album, it's like you take out a girl, you have a wonderful first date. Oh, you can hardly wait for the second date. Well, it never measures up because your anticipation is greater than anything, imagination is greater than actuality.
What do you think, Larry?
The first one you locked into.
I don't know if I go along.
Larry, he's an exception. This doesn't pertain to him. We're talking about,
Yeah, I know. We're talking figuratively.
Figuratively. But,
you want to, if you're, I was going to ask you before whether you were getting uncomfortable in so much as it was sounding dangerously like an interview.
Oh, I don't mind. I like talking, about the music or anything.
I feel like, perish the thought, maybe, I don't know. playing something?
Oh, I don't want to do that.
I just heard the thunk as the producer's pacemaker hit the floor.
No, we got one more worked up. You know, I'm just so rusty because, and
Take
also
your
I've
time.
got this
Learn
like.
something new.
husky
Oh, you're
thing.
sitting there chain smoking like a weasel, and you're
Oh, but that
complaining
has
about
nothing
your
to do
pipes.
with it.
Give me a break. So what's the song you're gonna do?
We do Hejira.
Okay.
I'm traveling in some vehicle. I'm sitting in some cafe. A defector from the petty wars that shifts our love away. There's comfort in melancholy when there's no need to explain. It's just as natural as the weather in this moody sky today. In our possessive coupling, so much cannot be expressed. So now I am returning to myself. These things that you and I suppressed, I see something of myself in everyone. Right at this moment of the world, the snow gathers like bolts of lace, waltzing on a bridal girl. You know it never has been easy. Whether you do or you do not resign, whether you travel a breadth of extremities or stick to some straighter line. Now here's a man and a woman sitting on a rock. They're either gonna thaw out or freeze. Listen, I think I hear Miles Davis coming through the snowy trees. We're only particles of change, I know, orbiting around the sun. But how can I keep that lofty point of view? Bound and tied to someone. White flags of winter chimneys, waving truce against the moon. In the mirrors of a modern bank, from the window of my hotel room. I looked at the granite markers, those tributes to finality, to eternity. Then I looked at myself here, chicken scratching for my immortality. In the church they light the candles, and the wax rolls down like tears. There is the hope and the hopelessness I've witnessed all these years. I'm porous with travel fever, but I'm so glad to on my own. Still the slightest touch of a stranger sets up a trembling in my bones. I know no one's gonna show me everything. I know we come and go unknown. He's so deep and so superficial. Between the forceps and the stone. I'm traveling in some vehicle. I'm sitting in some cafe. A defector from the petty wars. Till love sucks me back that way.
Well, it's really hard, to do the right thing for, our producer and actually get in after something like that and actually say something. You just want to sort of sit there kind of dumbstruck with your jaw dropped going, forceps to the stone. Wow, man. And stuff like that. Well, I waited all of my young life for this moment. When I would, actually get to do a duet with Joni Mitchell. I feel suddenly like Julio Iglesias. My time has really come. Now I'm gonna have to get a tan. Okay, this is a pretty well-known song, so I don't think we even have to say that much about it. What do you think, Bert? That's you. That's you.
Oh, Bert! Oh, I'm
Come on,
around
Bert.
the room.
That's you, Bert. Just call me Ernie. Of the morning, Ernie. Here we go.
Here we go.
So we're gonna do a song again in the all day, all Joni, Swinging on the Star.
Yesterday, a child came out to wonder, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Fearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of the star. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle again.
Then the child moved 10 times around the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like, when you're older, must appear seasons, they go
round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle game. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town. Then you tell him, hey, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your heels to slow those circles down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle game.
So the years spin by and now the boy's 20. Those dreams have lost some grandeur coming true. All will be new dreams, maybe better dreams and plenty, before the last revolving year is through.
And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round, and go round and round, and go round and round and round in the circle game.
In the circle game.
Hey! That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Murray, I just want to thank you really for having me on the show, you know, we've been friends a long time, you know, with gaps in between. We always seem to pick up like it was yesterday, you know.
Yeah.
My mom's got a drawing that Murray did, like how old you were, what, a teenager or something, hanging on the living room wall. Boy with guitar case, have guitar case, will travel. Sunset, windmill, pastel, very nice.
Romantic vision of myself in one of many probable futures.
No plane in it, you know, not quite that prophetic, but the rest.
Well, I've
is
improved a lot since then. I really have. Actually, I should give you one of something newer. That would be sort of neat, you know? Well, that does wrap up today's edition of Swinging on a Star. I'd like to thank very much my special guest, Joni Mitchell.
I thought it was called Swinging at a Star.
It ought to be. I'll be swinging from a star by the neck if I keep this up. Many thanks to Larry Klein. And to our usual regular musician guys, Mr. Danny Greenspoon and Mr. Kit Johnson. I'm Murray McLauchlan, and we'll see you next week for Swinging on a Star.
This hour, Joni Mitchell in a live performance with special guest Larry Klein.
Once in a while in a big blue moon there comes a night like this, like some surrealist invented this 4th of July night ride home. Hula girls and caterpillar tractors in the sand, ukulele man, the fireworks this 4th of July night ride home. I love the men beside me, we love the open road. No phones till Friday, far from the overkill, far from the overload. Back at the bar, the band tears down, but out here in the headlight beams, the silver power lines, they gleam on this 4th of July night ride home. We come around the curve and a big dark horse, red tail lights on his hide, is keeping right alongside. Rev 4 stride, 4th of July night ride home. I love the men beside me, we love the open road. No phones till Friday, far from the overkill, far from the overload. Once in a while in a big blue moon there comes a night like this, like some surrealist invented this 4th of July night ride home. On a night ride home.
It's so nice listening to you guys play this song and to see your exchange of smiles in that one point in the song when you say, I love the man beside me.
Oh, yeah, this was a beautiful trip we took. It was. We went to 4th of July. We went to Honolulu. Was it Honolulu?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was Kauai. Yeah.
And we had a really nice evening. And there was like a lot of local kind of hula stuff while it was light. And then there was a band. There were two bands: a traditional ukulele band, like slack key band, playing in one room, and then there was a rock band playing in the other. And we befriended the wife of one of the band members that night. Then the drive home was really kind of surreal. Actually, you got to give kind of a pre-setting to it. We rented this house, and before we left, the people who rented the house next to us had decided to have this barbecue on our beach. Now, we weren't going to be using that beach that night, but when you pay for a private beach, it kind of like bugs you to see these people like frying burgers on your beach, you know?
You want to at least be able to look at it.
So, and plus they were shooting off these rockets, right? And I was standing at the window thinking, that's our beach, you know, we paid for that beach and everything. So anyway, then logic enters into the, and you think, well, you know, we're not going to be using it. We're going on the other side of the island. So we go over to the other side of the island. We have a pleasant evening listening to this traditional music and a little bit of the rock. And we coming home, and honest, either we had a tinted windshield in the car, or else there was a real blue moon. But the clouds were scudding overhead real fast. They were moving like, you know, on our route anyway, they were moving right to left across, and there was a big blue moon hanging in the sky.
Oh, yeah.
And everything seemed enchanted. The dots on the highway seemed enchanted. The wires, as they scooped along, like outside the window, seemed more silver than ever. And in the distance, we thought we saw flying saucer land. We couldn't figure it out. It was like this patch of light in the middle of the field. Well, when we came up on it, it was a big yellow tractor with the headlights on and guys in overalls with one leg up on the bumper drinking beer and laughing in the middle of this cane field. Then when we came to our turnoff, this horse loped alongside of us, literally with the taillights of our car like reflecting on his hide and his big eye staring in the window. When we got back to the house, we walked in and it smelt of burn. It smelt like of wet firewood. Went into the bedroom, and we had just found a kitten a couple of days earlier, a little runty kitten, like that was prematurely weaned and really high-spirited, and we left her in there. We came into the house, and there was a stink of fire, wet fire. Went into the bedroom. The bed had been moved out into the middle of the room, and all the bedclothes were soggy, and there was a big hole in the roof, and a note from the neighbors who'd had the barbecue on our beach saying, "Gee, suddenly your roof caught fire. We don't know how it happened, but we rented your house on our last vacation, so we knew where the spare key was. So we stuck a garden hose like up on your roof, and we came." You know, but they started the fire because they were with their rockets at the beginning of the evening, and this little kitten was in there. You know, but the whole thing was kind of surreal and enchanted.
Like a film.
Yeah, it was like this funny little film.
Well, aren't you astonished, Larry, at how vivid Joni's memory is?
Oh, she's amazing. I mean, when it comes to that kind of information, like what she'll remember like several years ago, we were in this room on, in this city, and the drapes were blue, and they had this pattern on them,
and what they smelled like,
and they were well stitched. Also, they were.
Or was it maybe a mildew smell to them or something? She gets down to the very detail.
No, she's got an amazing memory for that kind of information.
Joni Mitchell in the studio with Larry Klein. I'm Chris Doritas. Morning Becomes Eclectic on KCRW. We're hearing a live performance.
Shaking into town with the brakes complaining. I used to count lovers like railroad cars. I counted them on my side. Lately I don't count on nothing. I just let things slide. The station master shuffling cards, boxcars are banging in the yards. Jealous lover will make you crazy if you can't find your goodness, 'cause you lost your heart. 'Cause you lost your heart. Or a strong cat without claws, or any reason to resume. And I found this empty seat in this crowded waiting room. I found everybody waiting. There's an old man sleeping on his bags, women with that teased up kind of hair, kids with the jitters in their legs, and those wide, wide open stares. And the kids got cokes and chocolate bars. There's a thin man smoking a fat cigar. Jealous lover will make you crazy you can't find your goodness, 'cause you lost your heart. 'Cause you lost your heart. Well, I've got this birth and this roll down blind. I got this full-lap sink, and these rocks and these cactuses going by, and a bottle of German wine to drink. I'm gonna settle down into the clickety-clack with the clouds and the stars to read, dreaming of the pleasure I'm gonna have, watching your hairline recede, my vain darling, watching your hair and clouds and stars. I'm rocking away in a sleeping car. Oh, jealous loving's gonna make me crazy. I can't find my goodness, I lost my heart. Oh, sour grapes, because I lost my heart. I lost my heart.
Joni Mitchell and Larry Klein live on KCRW's Morning Becomes Eclectic. You guys let out a big release at the end of that one. 1974, that song, Court and Spark.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? How some songs sort of retain something for you after years go by, and some don't. I would imagine that's true, that some of your songs don't hold up.
Most of them hold up.
I mean,
some of them die for a while, like, you know, and then you get a new perspective on them. You get another experience that makes them fresh. That's the weird thing about, you know, the interview system. You finish an album, they go out, what did you mean by that and all? It's kind of a shame because it limits it, you know, what you meant at the time you wrote it, and even with the writer, 10 years later, you can have another experience which puts a whole new slant on it. And, of course, as it goes out to the public, they all bring their own individual experience to it. And, you know, it's kind of myriad. And human nature is pretty much human nature. And so, but there are a lot of variations on perspective. And the author's perspective can change on a piece over time. So when that happens, it kind of gives them new life.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, you know, why you brought the songs that you did that were older songs.
The only ones I remember.
That's not true. But I mean, obviously, this song right now is saying something to you, and I'm not sure what that is exactly. Maybe you're not even sure, but it seems to.
I like it musically. It makes me happy to play that little funny pattern. You know, like,
yeah.
And I like the black humor in it. And I like the pastiche, you know. I mean, I like the gangly kids and the old guys, and you know the panoramic vista of it. It's still a picture I like to look at, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you are returning to live performance more now than you have in the last 10 years or so, aren't you?
Kind of. I did 2 gigs this year. You know, I didn't do anything much except a benefit maybe every 2 years for the last 12.
Are you planning on getting out on the road more this year?
Maybe.
It just depends, I suppose.
Depends on a lot of variables.
Such as?
It's got to be fun, you know, like something happens. I've never liked the big stage, you know. I can't even tune, because of the tunings are a real handicap, especially with, you know, with night air and lights messing with them, because the guitars are tuned so slack. Keeping them in tune in performance, especially outdoors, is really tricky. And and it's. I like it to sound good. I like it to be in tune. If it goes out, it's unpleasurable.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and then of course there's people out there with tape recorders recording it, and then, you know, if it was just going up into the ether, that's one thing, you know, but there are records left of it, you know, like, I like the recording art because you have a certain amount of control. Not that we need to punch in, or, you know, we're competent players, but, you know, and sometimes more than competent, but I always feel that sometimes the best of my ability, like, goes up into the midnight air when I'm alone, you know, like, being as good as I would like to be on a big stage has been difficult. Technology is catching up with it. Just wiring a guitar, there are now good pickups that are fairly natural sounding, but through the old systems, the sonics put off by, like, EQ imposition by the guy, like, at the monitors or something, can make it very difficult to tune when you go out, and that makes it unpleasant.
Do you think that, does it happen that during a performance you're often thinking about
if it's out of tune, I'm thinking about it, then I blow the words, and then I'm bad, and then I feel bad, and then I never want to play again.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Joni Mitchell and Larry Klein live on KCRW. Joni Mitchell in the studio with Larry Klein. I'm Chris Doritas. Morning Becomes Eclectic on KCRW. I was going to ask you, Joni, to sort of play a little bit of a word association game with me just on... And when I was trying to think of, you know, what I wanted to throw at you, well, you'll see. I mean, the first thing I wanted to throw at you was Larry Klein.
Just word association?
Yeah.
Wonderful human being. Is that the kind of response you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically my take, which is a funny take for a separated couple, but yeah, I would say that would be the first thing that would spring all the way along, even in the worst of our travail, you know.
How about Peter Asher?
Peter Asher. Peter and I were friends for 17 years before he became my manager. Our friendship was always very kind of blunt and confronting. His first wife, Betsy, used to say, "Oh, I can't believe he treated you like that." I said, "It doesn't bother me. It kind of runs off my back, you know." Peter and I always, like, were kind of conflicted, you know, like, somebody described it as Winston Churchill and Noel Coward. Well, which one am I?
Neil Young.
Neil Young, fellow prairie person, fellow polio survivor, fellow Scorpio, fellow songwriter.
Dylan.
Dylan, positively 4th Street. You got a lot of nerve to say you are my friend. When I heard those words, up until then I was kind of a detractor of Bobby's. I thought he was a copycat. You know, he was a
Guthrie.
Woody Guthrie clone, you know. But when he wrote that, I thought, okay, the American pop song has grown up. Up until that point, I separated songs and poetry. I wrote poetry privately. I didn't like poetry, so I didn't really show it to anybody. I wrote some in class on assignment, had to, you know. But when I heard that song, I thought, now we can write songs about anything. It opened up the possibility of songwriting topically. It was infinite then. Anything.
Miles Davis.
Miles Davis is you know, my musical love, I guess you'd have to say. Almost any... I'm tolerant of even of the periods that I don't like so much, the later bands, you know, where it gets more fusion-y. I think there were better choices he could have made. I would like to have heard him. Klein and I agree on this. We both, with Brian Eno, I tried to get him to play with me. It wasn't until he died that I found out of his brother how I could have worked that. You know, I said to his brother, I said, you know, Miles wouldn't play with me because I was a white chick, you know. He said, no, Joni, it wasn't that. It was because you were a singer. You know, he did play with one singer, and she was, you know, a woman
Shirley
that he grew up
Horn,
with,
yeah.
Shirley.
Yeah.
You know, but basically he said, shit, they got the words, you know, I gotta do it without the words. He was jealous of the words in a way. So if I'd known that, I could have given him the tracks bare. You know, no words. And he would have liked it, I think, because he liked melody, and he would have liked the chordal movement, he would have liked the harmony. He did, as a matter of fact, because his son said, he asked me, did you give Miles any of your records? I said, no. He said, did you know that he had all your records? And I said, I was really happy about that. And also, a month before he died, he moved the prints of my paintings from his bathroom beside his bed. So, Miles, in a funny way, I think liked what I did, but we just never got a chance to work together.
What's the Brian Eno reference?
Well, Brian had that, music for airports, all that stretched out kind of stuff. To give Miles a new period, rather than going with the fusion bands that he ended up going with, which was kind of noodly. We would have liked to have seen him go, to play, against all that space. I mean, I know Brian Eno, he didn't want any people in that music. He didn't want any fence posts, those were landscapes. He might not have wanted Miles on that. But on all that space, I would have liked to see Miles wade through that space, I wanted to wade through some of it myself, put some lyric to it.
Sinead O'Connor.
Sinead.
Yeah, the story about Sinead being booed at a Dylan concert for having...
the Pope's picture, tearing at the Pope's picture?
Yeah, for having done that just, months before, weeks before the Dylan concert. She was booed off the stage, Madison Square Garden. To me, that just seemed like such an ironic thing for a Dylan audience to do. What do you think of that?
No, I think when I wrote Magdalene Laundries, almost immediately when the text was finished, I called Sinead because I thought, that the song in a way is up her alley thematically. It's taking a poke at the church, but it's taking, I'm hoping, I don't like to unlike Sinead, radicalism, separates, it creates division. What she did was, you could imagine, if you tear up a picture of the Pope, you're going to make Catholics pissed off. It's not constructive.
That's a good portion
punk.
Of the world, too.
It's punk.
You're talking about...
It's a waste, it's a dramatic, showy, immature, ineffective gesture. But what is behind it, I understand. The church in Ireland could do much to help its people, but doesn't. Mm-hmm. So I just felt that the punk rebel image that she, was shallow thinking on her part, ineffective, and it brought down a fairly predictable response. Yeah. You could imagine it going the way it did, but it's like Shakespeare. The play is the thing wherein to catch the conscience of the king. Is there a way that you can separate the wheat from the chaff so that you can?
That makes me think of a thought that you have about the performing arts. Songs and plays are capable of slowing people down and touching their souls in order to generate thoughtfulness.
Yeah. I think the arts at their best do that. They make people look at things they wouldn't ordinarily look at, and maybe plant the seeds of difference, like a different way of looking at things.
So somehow within the play or the song you can make a discovery as a performer that other people may see in watching the performance, that they can make the discovery themselves.
It's my optimism that you could actually, that art could change somebody's course, change the way they look at things.
Like that Kafka quote, is it art is the axe for the frozen sea within us?
Yeah, that's a good one too, yeah. Art is the axe for the frozen sea within us.
Joni Mitchell live on KCRW.
Just turned 27 when they sent me to the sisters for the way men looked at me. heaven, I'd be cast in shame into the Magdalene Laundries. Most girls come here pregnant, some by their own fathers. Bridget got that belly by her parish priest. We're trying to get things white as snow, all of us woe-begotten daughters, in the steaming stains of the Magdalene Laundries. Prostitutes and destitutes and temptresses like me, fallen women are sentenced into dreamless drudgery. Why do they call this heartless place Our Lady of Charity? Ah, charity. These bloodless brides of Jesus, if they had just once glimpsed their groom, then they'd know, and they'd drop the stones concealed behind their rosaries. They wilt the grass they walk upon, they leech the light out of a room. They'd like to drive us down the drain at the Magdalene Laundries. Peg O'Connell died today. She was a cheeky girl, a flirt. They just stuffed her in a hall. Surely to God you'd think at least some bells should ring. One day I'm gonna die here too, and they'll plant me in the dirt like some lame bulb that never blooms come any spring, not any spring. Not any spring, not any spring, not any spring, not any spring.
Magdalene Laundries. It's from the new release Turbulent Indigo. In stores today from Warner Reprise. Joni Mitchell performing live on Morning Becomes Eclectic, joined by Larry Klein, also in the studio on bass. I'm Chris Doritas, and there's one song on the album that I think is literal in that you were driving in traffic, I suppose, in Los Angeles or somewhere.
Last day of the riots.
Last day of the riots, and you came up to a car at a stoplight.
Either a limo or a Cadillac, big long white car, and the license plate said "Just Ice." They're probably a rapper, whoever they are out there. They know who they're, this is probably a registered LA license plate. I'd never seen the word divided like that. It's like Evian water. Evian is naive, backwards. I suspect it's French tap water. And the French are making some money at our expense. Those ignorant English people, we will sell them our tap water.
Joni Mitchell live on KCRW's Morning Becomes Eclectic.
driver's license plate. It said, just ice. It's just ice. Governed by greed and lust. Just the strong doing what they can, and the weak suffering what they must. And the gas leaks, and the oil spills, and sex sells everything. Sex kills. Oh, sex kills. Doctor's pills give you brand new wills, and the bills bury you like an avalanche. And lawyers haven't been this popular since Robespierre slaughtered half of France. And Indian chiefs with their old beliefs know that the balance is undone. Crazy irons, you can feel it out in traffic. Everyone hates everyone, and the gas leaks, and the oil spills, and sex sells everything. Sex kills. Oh, sex kills. All these jackoffs at the office, the rapist in the pool, oh, and the tragedies in the nurseries, little kids packing guns to school, the ulcerated ozone, these tumors of the skin, a hostile sun beating down on the massive mess we're in, and the gas leaks, and the oil spills, and sex sells everything. Sex kills. Oh, sex kills. Sex kills. Sex kills. Sex kills.
Sex Kills. Joni Mitchell live on Morning Becomes Eclectic. I'm Chris Doritas. Also joined in the studio by bassist Larry Klein, the two of them performing live, a song that comes from the new release Turbulent Indigo, which is in stores today from Warner Reprise. This is true for a lot of people, I guess, but for you, I understand that chords
Have an emotional meaning.
Yeah,
each one.
depict emotions.
Very complex emotional meanings. Too complex for some people. They just go, Joni's weird chords. I always like to think that Americans, unlike Brazilians, say, Brazilians can take a lot of complex emotion, being an emotional people.
It's at the root of their...
In the peasant, you know, there, I always think, why can't Americans take that much rhythmic sophistication and that much harmonic sophistication? They seem to like their tragedy minor and their happiness major, and the most they can handle is a seventh, and anything after that is weird. Whereas, like, because I invent these open tunings that I play in these modalities, a lot of times specifically for the lyric, trying to avoid tragic statements underscored with minors. You know,
Good
that's
point.
generally the pattern.
You know, I think that American harmony is based, and there's, I mean, this is part of what I love about it too, on the positive side. But it's based on church music, you know, and the church was
the record
is a
company.
very, very repressive kind of force in music, you know, and I mean, especially as the music developed, you know, it was, you know, if you didn't stick to these very pure harmonies, it was deemed as devil's music.
Oh yeah,
bad
Klein
stuff,
pointed
you know.
out, because he's, you know, I am a sophisticated, intuitive, right? But Klein's he's musically educated. In Sunny Sunday, the first cut, I used the devil's change. Isn't that what it's called? The devil, unwittingly, what is it called? The devil's.
The tritone? Or
Yeah.
Movement.
It was
augmented
forbidden
fourth.
by the church.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, and it was I didn't know it. It just, you know, within the course of the tunings, there's, you know, your chords,
Yeah.
there's certain shapes. When you set up a new tuning, I explore it with a vocabulary of shapes. The shapes may appear in different positions, but I have very simple left-handed fingering, but very complex chords come out of it, you know. So within that tuning, I needed to underscore the apex, you know, the main gable on the architecture of that piece of music. I found that one little victory. That's all she needs. Isn't that what it underscores?
Oh, yeah.
The church forbade it. You know why? Because it evokes doubt. Every chord must be designed to keep the eyes lifted up to the cathedral ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, and somehow or other this put, you know, the chords are diagrams of emotions. That's why the Stand By Me changes have been reworked so many times in pop music, because they're straight to the people's heart. It's, you know, it's like a cliche in pop, and yet there are thousands of songs written on that formula. But people like that. It goes straight to the heart. So church music was kind of the same thing. But this particular chord change, so the chorus goes like this. So here's this woman, she's standing with a gun, she's taking pot shots at the streetlight outside her, and she keeps missing. You know. But the day she hits, that's the day she'll leave. That one little victory, that's all she needs. That's all she needs. That is the devil's interval, and
It's
it was
pause to
forbidden by
think.
the church.
Pause to consider.
Something in it, the harmonic thing
Yeah.
puts a
Well, yeah.
tilt, makes the
pullback.
heart tilt. It's not fully, it takes your eyes off the cathedral ceiling and makes them look at your toes.
What do you, if Stand By Me, you know, that like, you know, chord progression, if that hits you in the heart, where do you think traditional kind of chord movement in church music hits you? Like, where would you, where
It's a little
physically
more
would you think?
cerebral
you
than
know?
that. It's-
Like,
don't you think?
Would it hit
Gregorian?
you? Would it hit you up here, or?
Yeah, where's the
It
sun?
stays away from your genitals, I'll tell you that.
It's going to go up rather than down. Yeah.
At all
Nowhere
costs.
near.
Nowhere near.
You've brought with you today some new songs, too. Songs from an album that has not been recorded yet, the next project.
Mm-hmm.
This, I'm guessing, is an album that's in progress. It's not completely worked
It's
out.
just those two songs, you know, because now I'm in, you know, I'm on the campaign trail. A vote for me is a vote for Honest Jones, sort of. So all the energy goes, like, pretty much into promoting this now. So it'll be a while until you get the chance to internalize. And
Has the album After Turbulent Indigo taken shape?
we've started it, eh? We've started. We've got lots of Cries with Wayne on it and everything. Although I think the way I performed it then, well, you can imagine, it's a very tricky situation in a way, because, you know, I think the performance of it requires a certain kind of. I played it in Edmonton to a live audience with lovers in the front row, right in my face, you know, and seeing them respond brought out a sparkle and a mischief in the performance, whereas the one that I have on tape is kind of equally valid, but it's kind of restrained, mainly because, out of respect to Klein, you know, like we're Klein and they're in separation, and he's got a new, you know, or had at that time a new girl, but still, you know, we're close, and it's hard, you know, to see your partner going off with someone else. Yeah. So it was, the performance we have on tape is kind of respectfully restrained.
Well, let's go for one live here and see what we come up with here today. Joni Mitchell and Larry Klein live on KCRW's Morning Becomes Eclectic.
Hey, Robbie. It was a dark and a stormy night. Everyone was at the wingding. They weren't the wingding type. So they went up on the train bridge where the weather was howling. And oh my, when that train comes rolling by, no picket thin walls, no folks above, no one else can hear love's cries. They were laughing, they were dancing in the rain. They knew their love was a strong one when they heard the far-off whistle of a train. They were hoping it was gonna be a long one, 'cause oh my, when that train comes rolling by, no paper thin walls, no folks above, no one else can hear love's cries. In the back booth of an all-night cafe, 2 dripping raincoats are hanging. Outside in the weather, the shade on the street light is clanging. And they smile ear to ear, eye to eye. Ice cream is melting, piece of pie, and oh my, no one else can hear love's cries. Every kiss was sweet and strong. Every touch was totally tandem. When that train come rumbling along, they sang another song of wild abandon. Oh my, when that train comes rolling by, no paper thin walls, no folks above, no one else can hear love's cries. No paper thin walls, no folks above, no one else can hear love's cries.
Love's Cries. That's new material from Joni Mitchell and Larry Klein, live on Morning Becomes Eclectic. This is a song that's from an album that's still in the making, but we are today celebrating the release of Turbulent Indigo, which is in stores today from Warner Reprise. We're just getting a little ahead of the game today by sharing with you some of the things that are down the road yet for Joni Mitchell. Great new stuff, and boy, it's nice to hear. Nice to hear
thank you.
A sampling of what's around the corner. And I understand you brought another one with you. This is called Facelift.
And it's called Happiness is the Best Facelift.
Happiness, that's the full name.
Which is true, like it lifts all the muscles, like, right up.
Well, it makes me... I'm getting one right now, because the title makes me laugh. It's been a real pleasure. I I don't have the words to explain how thankful I am for the two of you coming down.
No, we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
really
you.
been very, very, very special for us.
Klein's got to go off on the road, you know.
Yeah.
So he was kind of gung-ho for us to play before I go off on my press tour, and he goes off with Sean on the road, you know.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity for us to
Play a little bit
live, which is great. Because I'm trying to get enthused about playing in front of people again. I'm trying to get back in the saddle, so every little bit like this helps, you know.
Hopefully, maybe
every time it's fun, it's like you remember, oh yeah, this was fun.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
So thank you for letting us rehearse here on the air.
Exactly, and rehearsed it was.
Anytime. It's been great having you. Joni Mitchell and Larry Klein on KCRW. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I went so numb on Christmas Day I couldn't feel my hands or feet. I shouldn't have come, she made me pay for gleaming with Donald down her street. She put blame on him and shame on me. She made it all seem so tawdry and cheap. Oh, let's be nice, Mama. Open up your gifts, you know. Happiness is the best. Facelift. I mean, after all, she introduced us. Oh, but she regrets that now. Shacked up downtown, making love without a license. The same old sacred cow. She said, did you come home to disgrace us? I said, why is this joy not allowed? For God's sake, some middle-aged mama, and time moves swift, and you know, happiness is the best. Facelift.
We're listening to Joni Mitchell and Larry Klein, recorded live at KCRW in recent weeks. Happiness is the best facelift. This is a song that's from the next album from Joni Mitchell, a song about her current romance. I'm Chris Doritas, that's Morning Becomes Eclectic. My thanks to Joni Mitchell and to Larry Klein. Also thanks to John Staley, Gloria Boyce, Julie Cahill, my assistant this morning, Cindy Berkey. Also thanks to Theo Mondel for recording this live performance and interview with M Sound, and my co-producers Tracy Saratine. Back tomorrow from 9 to noon. Producer Paul Fox, guest DJ at 11:15. Black Voices live Thursday at 11:15. Monday it's Perla Bataya. Tuesday next week, Soul Coughing, Claudia Scheer Wednesday, Victoria Williams Thursday next week, and Alex Chilton Friday next week. I've got 5 copies of the brand new release from Joni Mitchell, Turbulent Indigo, up for grabs. The album is in stores today from Reprise Records. If you haven't received anything from us in the past 90 days, call now with your membership number 310-450-3524 for Joni Mitchell compact disc, Turbulent Indigo. First come, first serve. Call 310-450-3524. This is KCRW Santa Monica, KCRY Indio Palm Springs, KCRU Oxnard Ventura. Monitor Radio's next.
We pushed the bed against the window to see the Christmas lights. On the east bank across the steaming river, between the bridges lit up Paris-like. This river has run through both